Her areas of interest are pediatric anesthesia, regional block under USG guidance, and obstetric anesthesia. She has various publications in national and international journals. It's a pleasure to have you here, ma'am.
My topic of discussion is on writing thesis versus writing an article. Thesis. Earlier it was considered as the most difficult part of your post-graduation. Even we have undergone that. But nowadays it's not that much difficult because there are a lot of softwares and tools are available which make your writing work so simpler and an easier way. Exercise and guide students about basic research methodology. It encourages scientific writing and critical thinking. In a simpler way, thesis will make you as a researcher. So whenever you are going to write a scientific paper, you have to follow certain structures. This structure is called IMRAN. IMRAN is nothing but an I for introduction and materials and methodology, results under discussion. Whenever you are writing a scientific paper, you have to follow all the 4 steps. So these are the fundamental steps of a thesis. First is a title, then comes your acknowledgement, then abstract, content page, your main body, reference and appendices. In the main body, apart from your IMRAN structure, there will be aims and objective, literature review, then finally conclusion and recommendation. For a journal article, there will be only main body, but it will be in a concise format. The word may be around some 3,000 to 4,000 words. Then your title. A title should reflect the content of your study, of the study event. So avoid catchy phrases and rhyming words and abbreviation while writing a title. A title should be of 15 to 20 words. An abstract should tell what the body of the paper is. Actually, an abstract is a gateway for your research paper. It should be a standalone summary of your 4 structures, that is the introduction, methods, results and conclusion. That means while writing an abstract, you have to write some 2 or 4 lines in a condensed form of this 3 formats. For an abstract, you should not copy-paste this 4 content from your main body, but it should be a miniature of your entire text. Also, do not cite any references in your abstract. In a thesis, an abstract can be of 200 to 300 words. For an article, it should be around 250 words. Then your introduction. A good introduction should say why you undertook the study. That means it should outline the relevance and significance of the study. So your introduction should be so attractive and it should hook the reader to read the paper further. The writing structure of an introduction should be funneled from a broad perspective to a specific aim. That means like an inverted triangle. So you have to follow certain segments while writing your introduction. In the first part, you have to mention your background of the study. That means what you know about the study. In the second part of your introduction, you should mention your researchable problem. That is the gaps in the study or the things which have been unknown about your topics. And finally, you end your introduction with your justifications or purpose or hypothesis. That is why you undertook the study. So an introduction, while writing an introduction, you should have this format. As a general rule, your introduction should be short and arresting. Use present tense for writing. In a thesis, an introduction can be around some 2 to 3 pages. For an article, it should be around 2 to 3 paragraphs. Aims. That is what you hope to achieve at the end of the studies. An objective or the steps which have been taken to achieve your aim. This has been set before you start off your study. Next part is a review of literature. If I ask a postgraduate to write a review of literature, means what you generally do is you collect all the literature data and you will write from the history, physiology, pharmacology, everything. Finally end with the in this study this et al did like this, and in the next study this et al did like this. You will write it in the format. It should not a way of writing a review of literature. So what is review of literature? Review of literature is nothing but it's a critical analysis. You have to critically analyze and understand the knowledge which exists in the field and how it relates to your study. So your review of literature should be a mere critical analysis. So again, there are certain structures and elements to be followed while writing a review of literature. As in introduction, the review of literature structure is also like an inverted triangle. There are 3 elements in review of literature. Under these 3 elements, you can further divide it into themes and sub-themes. So the three elements of review of literature are, first one is your broad contents, then your related issue, then the researchable problem. Under these headings, you can divide it into themes and sub-themes. So I will give you an example so that you can easily understand how to write this review of literature. This is a topic to determine the minimum volume of local anesthetics for ultrasound guided supraclavicular block. The three elements are broad contents, related issues, and the researchable problems. So in this topic, the broad context is your supraclavicular block. Then the related issue is your local anesthetics, and the researchable problem is your volume of local anesthetics. Under these headings, you can further divide it and segregate your review of literature, and you can fill this. Coming to the style, you should write it in the present tense, but past tense can be for use for recounting events. Always use passive voice, but is not always mandatory. Use active voice when needed. In a thesis, the review of literature will be around some 12 to 15 pages. There is no separate review of literature in an article. Next, methodology. Methodology section should say how you did the study. So the main important components of the methodology are, first is your study design, then you have to say about the duration, period, and the study setting, then your sampling size, then your sampling strategy, then the study population. In the study population, you have to mention about your inclusion-exclusion criteria, then the intervention or approaches you have made, and finally you have to end with your statistical analysis plan and then ethics. So while writing a methodology section, you have to follow certain checklist so that you won't miss anything in the methodology. These checklists are available in the equatornetwork.org, but this checklist may vary according to the study. I will just give you two examples. For observation study, there's a STOP guidelines, and for RCT, it's CONSULT. So in the statistical part, you have to specifically mention about your data entry and your analysis of the data. You have to provide exact p-value and the confidence interval. Also, you have to mention about the software packages, the name and version used for analysis have to be specified. Nowadays, there are user-friendly softwares are available like GraphPad, Prism, Minitab. So you should not always rely on a statistician for your work has to be done. These are the softwares will help to get the statistics without the help of a statistician. So next in the ethical part, you have to mention whether you have got ethical committee clearances. If you are doing a trial study, you have to mention whether you have registered in the Clinical Trial Registry of India. You have to mention about your informed consent from the participants. If you are taking photographs from the patient, you have to get separate consent for them too. So coming to the writing style of methodology, the key idea of methodology is repeatability. That means anyone who read your study have able to replicate the studies. So the way of writing should be easy to understand. It should be direct and precise. Use past tense for methodology. If the section is too long, you can divide it into subsection. In a thesis, your methodology can be approximately up to 8 to 10 pages, and the article, for an article, it should be around 500 to 600 words. Then your result section. This is the most important part of your thesis because it provides answer to your researchable problem. And this is the second most easiest thing to write. The first thing being your methodology section. A paper with a clear and concise results are easy to get accepted. If mistakes are found, then your study will be of suspect. So always write your results as if telling a story. Start from a chronological order and take towards in a logical way. For an article, your result should be around some 500 to 700 words. There are certain ABCs you have to follow while writing a result section. These ABCs are accuracy, brevity, and clarity. Means accurate, your result should be accurate, brief, and clear. This brevity, it should be strictly followed while writing an article, but for a thesis, it can be a bit liberal because there is no page constraint for a thesis. So next thing, how to organize your results. That means how to arrange your results. You can arrange your results in 3 ways. First thing, you have to mention you put the baseline characters. That is the results corresponding to your age, sex, height, weight, BMI, everything have to be reported in the first part. Then the second part, have to answer your research question. That is your primary objective and secondary objective has to be addressed in the second part. And finally, describe any other findings. That is, if you have any other adverse effects or side effects or any other new findings you have found, it should be addressed in the final part. So now you have know about the ABCs of results and how to organize your results. Then now how you are going to present the results. The results can be presented in either of the three forms, either text, tables or figures. Text can be used for presenting your result when your result is of small data. Tables can be used when you want to provide information about a large number of variables at once. Figures, it shows a multiple observation of individuals or groups. So next, I will show you how this proper table should be. First, the table should have a table number. Then it should have a table headings. The table heading should be short, simple and complete. Then it should start with the group, and so it should start with the column and the row headings. Whenever needed, use units. Like example, here this age is mentioned in years, weight in kgs. So whenever needed, the units have to be mentioned properly. Then you have to mention the numbers. The values have to be mentioned in numbers and in the percentage. Here, this is the first one, 5 is the number and 31 is the percentage. So always present your results in the numbers both in percentage. So everywhere your results has been represented in percentage also. Then finally there should be a footnote. The footnote should have the explanation of all your abbreviations you have used, and also if you want to add some other things, it has to be explained in your footnote. And finally, if your p-value is highly significant, you have to mention it with a symbol called asterisk. So your table should be a standalone. That means whoever is looking at the table, they should know the results. They should not look on the text for full reference. So your table should be a standalone. Next, figures. There are many number of figures to represent your data, but it may vary according to your study. For a qualitative data, you can use bar diagrams, line diagrams, pie charts. And for a quantitative data, you can use histograms, polygons, and box and whisker plots. So I want to highlight only two things. Use little non-ink data. That is, that in the top green portions, the space above the top green portion, this is the non-ink data. It should be so minimum. It should not be so long. So the non-ink data should be minimum, and the pattern or colors used for the graph should be consistent. So while example, if you want to present your graph, means you will be using different colors. It should not be like this. Example, if you are choosing red color for control and blue color for case, means this color should be consistent throughout all number of your results. You should not change the colors. So be consistent in your color. And finally, avoid duplication of the data. That means you should not present the data in all the three, like text, tables and figures. Either present the results either in the table or figures, which is appropriate to your result. So coming to the discussion part, this is the most difficult part to write. So it requires a good knowledge and a writing skill. There is no formal structure for writing a discussion. A discussion should be a mere argument, how your result and how it related to the other studies. So these are the structure for element of your discussion. You have to first, in the discussion part, you have to first summarize your main results. Then the second, third and fourth paragraph should be a mere comparison of your results with the previous studies. That means how your study is similar to your other studies. Then you have to mention how your study is different from your other studies. So you have to compare and contrast your results with the other studies. Then you have to say the strength and limitation of your studies. And finally end your discussion with making recommendation for future study or future policies. So the common mistakes while writing in a discussion are writing as if like a review of literature. You commonly tend to write discussion like, I got a result like this in my study. This et al. In the study had got like this result. So it is comparable. This is not the way of writing discussions part. Then the second common mistake is hiding the limitations. The most common limitation of the study will be in the sample size. If you have a limited sample size, say that with that limited sample size, I got the results. So be explicit in that. Then the third common mistake is not discussing the negative results. These negative results are equally important as your positive results. So don't try to hide that. Also, the final mistake is do not rewrite the results. Usually, when your result is not corresponding to your parent study means, you tend to reread the results. But you should not do this. These are the common mistakes, and you should. In a thesis, your discussion should be around 4 to 5 pages, and for an article, it can be around some 900 words. Then your conclusion summary of your entire text. It should highlight the answer which found to your researchable questions. Also, you should make recommendation for the future study and tell the reader what you found in the studies and how it can be applied and what further research can be done in the field. So then your final part is your reference. The purpose of doing a reference is to avoid being accused of plagiarism, and it shows your understanding on the topic. You should not use very old references like 20 or 30 years old. It means that you are outdated. Your references should be within 5 to 10 years old. So 85% of your references should fall within this limit. 15% may be old, which we deals with the theories and histories. So there are certain styles to be followed while writing a reference. I think merely some 9 or 10 styles, different styles are there for writing a reference. The most common style is a Vancouver, which has been used for writing a medical research paper. I will just show you an example how this Vancouver style will be. In a Vancouver style, the first comes the author name, then followed by the article title and the journal title, then your date of publication, your volume, issues, and your location, that is paginations. This is the order of writing in the Vancouver style. Also, this punctuation should be placed appropriately. So, if I ask you to write some 1 or 2 references with this style, it will be easy to write. But in a thesis, you are supposed to write some 50 to 100 references. It will be so difficult, and there may be a chance for mistake, and also it's time consuming. So there are certain managers who will help you to arrange your references without making mistakes. These are the reference managers. The commonly used are Zotero, Mendeley, Citavi, and Endnote. Among this, Zotero and Mendeley are commonly used. I will show how to write the references with the help of a Zotero. First, we have to download the Zotero app in the Chrome. Once it's been downloaded, it will be available in your desktop. You have to open your Word document and check whether the Zotero is plugged in at the top end of your Word document. So now I am opening the Zotero app. There are 3 parts in there. The first one being your library, that means your folder. The middle part will show the title of your references, and finally at the third end will have the complete details of your article. So now I am going to show how the reference can be cited with the help of the Zotero. So I am going to use this article. So once the article has been opened, the right end will have a save to Zotero. When you opened it, there are many folders. You choose the folder and you save to the folder in the Zotero. So now I am opening the Zotero. The article have been saved in my thing, and the whole details of the articles have been saved in the right end of the corner. So now I am going to open my Word documents. I am going to cite the reference. First you have to open the Zotero. Once it's been opened, you have to click Add Citation button. First it will ask for your style, reference style. So I am going to select this Vancouver style. So then the Zotero will ask for your which have to be cited here. We have to place either by name of the article or by the author name. So once it is selected, it's automatically you get cited here. So I am coming to the bibliography part. So if I want to add the reference here, I'm clicking add bibliography part. The reference is automatically placed with the proper style and without any mistakes. So now I will show you with another example. I want to quote this article. So first you have to save in the Zotero. So once it is saved, you have to add the citation button, and it will ask for the title name. Once it's been fed, it will automatically cite the article. And if you add the add bibliography, it will enter into the reference part. So now you have to think from the title to your plagiarism is nothing but using another word's ideas without properly citing. So whenever you are submitting your article to your journal or submitting your thesis to your university, you have to check whether your work has been plagiarized. There are certain plagiarism checkers are available, which will help you to do this work easily. There are many free checkers are available and paid checkers. Among the free checkers, the plagiarism checker is the one, and the Turnitin is more sensitive, but it's a paid checker. So I will show you just simply how this plagiarism checker works. You have to open this plagiarism checker. This is a free one. You have to feed all the written part into it. It will highlight the plagiarized words and give finally the results. In my work, I have 9% plagiarism. So some journals and universities accept plagiarism up to 10 to 20%. So I am in the safer zone. My limit is within that. If you are more than the 20% or 30%, then that may be a threat for plagiarism. You have to reduce it. So these are the ways by which you can reduce your plagiarisms. If you are using an article without citation, cite the article. Then if you are, even after citing, there may be chance for plagiarism. If then quote the articles, just give the quotation marks, that's all. And finally, you can do a paraphrasing. Paraphrasing is nothing but rewriting or rephrasing or recreating sentences. It can be done either manually, that means by your own, or using a tool called Quillbot. I will show how this Quillbot works. This is a Quillbot paraphraser app. You have to feed your written part into this and paste it. And finally, it will show all the plagiarized words, and itself will rephrase and give it to you. This app will read it for you. So, and the next thing is, not everyone is good in grammar. Some may be very poor in grammar. For that also, there are apps which help you to correct your grammatical mistakes. So simply you have to download this app and you have to feed all your written up into this app. It will correct all your grammatical mistakes and also your punctuation marks. So now you have certain tools which help you to write up faster and a simpler way. So finally, why you want to get published? Exhibiting your art. That means you have done a great job in the research, so your work have to be explored to everyone. Second thing, it have to improve your CV. Then the third part, it helps in your promotion, and also you are contributing in your field. And finally, some university mandates the final year postgraduate to publish their thesis before exam. Now the trend is either publish or either perish. So this is the summary of everything. In a thesis, you have to follow all these indirect structures. A journal article also follow this. For a thesis, the word can be up to 10,000 to 20,000. But in a journal article, you can now use up to some 3,000 to 4,000 words. The page limit is for a thesis, it's around 100, but you can maximum up to 200. For a journal articles, the pages can be up to 5 to 15. The reviewer in a thesis are thesis committee members. For a journal, it will be a panel of peer reviewers. The audience are narrow in the thesis, mostly your department people or your university people. But for a journal, it will be by whoever looking at your paper. Title, for a thesis, it can be from your objective. But for a journal article, you can read from your results also. A review of literature can be elaborate in a thesis. For a journal article, there is no review of literature as such. In the methodology, you can, for a thesis, you can be so elaborate and along with the subheadings. For a journal article, it should be so condensed. Results can be elaborate and you can up to any number of tables or figures, maximum up to 20 to 30. For a journal article, there are restrictions. You can use up to 2 to 3 tables and the figures fitting to your objects. References, you can use up to 50 to 100 reference. For a thesis, for a journal, it should be appropriately some 20. These are journal specific and university specific. And finally, thesis is not a burden, it's not a boring. It's a beginning of your career involving your research. It can take you up to your new height. Thank you.